Hello and welcome. You're watching a joint WION Voice of America broadcast. I am Shobhit Mittal. On Wednesday, US President Joe Biden announced his plan to withdraw all 2,500 American troops from Afghanistan, and that by the 11th of September this year, months later than the original May 1st deadline that the former US President Donald Trump's administration and the Taliban agreed on last year. Voice of America's White House correspondent Patsy Widakuswara has this report.
After 20 years, close to $1 trillion, more than 2,300 American deaths, and the loss of tens of thousands of Afghan lives, the U.S. is saying enough.
We went to war with clear goals. We achieved those objectives. Bin Laden is dead, and al-Qaeda is degraded in Iraq and Afghanistan. And it's time to end the forever war.
On Wednesday, President Joe Biden announced that all 2,500 American troops will withdraw from Afghanistan by September 11th, 2 decades after the U.S. invaded the country following attacks by the terrorist group al-Qaeda, who sought haven there. The Trump administration had previously set May 1st as the withdrawal deadline, providing that the Taliban, the Muslim fundamentalist group controlling Afghanistan, cut ties with al-Qaeda. Biden set his withdrawal without conditions, arguing there is no point to continue to fight an intractable war and expect different results. Some Republicans say the Taliban will regain control and hurt Afghan and U.S. interests.
President Biden, unfortunately, has chosen the highest risk option available, which is to leave no matter what.
In coordination with the U.S., NATO on Wednesday announced withdrawal of 10,000 of its forces from Afghanistan by May 1st.
Any Taliban attacks on our troops during this period will be met with a forceful response.
Biden said the U.S. and its allies will continue training and equipping almost 300,000 Afghan troops, support humanitarian efforts, and engage diplomatically.
We will support peace talks between the government of Afghanistan and the Taliban facilitated by the United Nations, and will continue to support the rights of Afghan women and girls.
In response to Biden's decision to pull troops in September instead of May, the Taliban issued a warning, increasing fears of violence and the collapse of the Afghan government.
There's probably no option that significantly reduces the level of violence. There's also probably no option on the table to build the Afghanistan that the United States probably had in mind when they invested more than $1 trillion in the war. And so, yes, this is probably the best of a series of bad options.
The Afghan Peace Council, a body created to negotiate with the Taliban, is set to meet in Turkey later this month, but peace prospects are dim. Following his remarks, Biden visited Arlington National Cemetery to pay respects to soldiers who lost their lives in the war. Patsy Widakuswara, VOA News.
To speak about this further, we are joined by Voice of America correspondent Amy Hybels, who's joining us from Washington. Amy, while former President Donald Trump had called for U.S. troop withdrawal from Afghanistan this May, the Republican members of the U.S. Congress were quick to condemn President Joe Biden's announcement, isn't it?
That's right. You just heard in that package, Shobhit, that we just aired. You heard U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham speaking. Also on Tuesday, Republican Senator Mitch McConnell said that a reckless pullback would abandon the U.S.'s Afghan regional and NATO partners in their fight against terrorism. Of course, many of the Democrats remain supportive of Biden's decision to begin the troop withdrawal on May 1st. Now, on Thursday, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken made a surprise visit to Kabul where he told the Afghan leaders that the U.S. will continue to support their country. Now, in his announcement on Wednesday, President Joe Biden said that after 2 decades, the U.S. can no longer justify its presence there. According to the U.S. Department of Defense, the U.S. has spent $778 billion through September of 2019 in its war efforts. Then there's also the human cost. More than 2,300 U.S. troops have been killed and 20,000 wounded in the 2 decades of war in Afghanistan. A Brown University project estimated that as of October 2019, more than 43 civilians have died violent deaths as a result of the war. Biden said that Washington would support the peace talks between the Afghan government and the Taliban fighters.
So, Amy, the big question is, where does this development leave the fate of the peace talks that the Taliban were going to participate in Turkey?
Yeah, that's the sticky point. According to the agreement that was signed by the Trump administration last year, they agreed that all U.S. troops would be withdrawn by May 1st. Under the Biden announcement on Wednesday, the U.S. troop withdrawal will begin on May 1st. So that's a little bit of a difference, kind of a sticking point there. Now, on Wednesday, the Taliban said it wants all foreign forces out of Afghanistan on the date specified in that agreement, which is May 1st. News of the U.S. troop withdrawal plans had already prompted the Taliban to cancel their attendance at a 10-day conference that was to be held in Turkey later this month. Biden warned that if the Taliban attacks U.S. troops as they draw down, the U.S. will defend themselves and their partners. Back to you.
Absolutely, Amy. This is a huge development that the world has its eyes on. In fact, as we speak, an Afghanistan parliament minister has come out and said that there is no future for the Taliban in a new Afghanistan. We'll keep an eye out on this.